Everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundWeb Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Me and Molson Zia Missing, available on Amazon, coming soon, Missing 2 by Me and Molson Zia, double the suspense, double the fun, check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, including 30 exquisite paintings in King David's Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through his books, and check it out, Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries, the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with the amazing award-winning singer-songwriter making a name for herself in New Mexico and currently in Nashville, Tennessee. Raw, evocative voice, powerful storytelling, embrace a new chapter in the music city. And of course, she's got a new release sharing her music as an artist and a personal chapter in her life, and also the next journey. And what is the next journey? We'll find out in just 1 minute with the album and release Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions, live, ladies and gentlemen, Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Nashville. The amazing award-winning singer-songwriter making a name for herself. It's called Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, the multi-talented Rooster Blackspur. Rooster, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you on board as well, too. So how'd you get the name Rooster, first of all?
Well, have you ever had a rooster?
Only as a toy, I gotta say that. Only as a toy or a stuffed chicken. That's all I can say at this point. So.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyone who's had a pet rooster, they'll know all they need to know about my spirit and the energy I carry into the world. But our family had a rooster that left a very obviously big impression on me, and so people who love me the most and respect me the most call me Rooster and nothing else.
Gotcha. There you go. So I'll have to remember it when I see the little roosters running around and everything like that. So I will remember that. So yeah. So anyway, you're an award-winning singer-songwriter, making a name for yourself in New Mexico, and you're now in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're newly sharing your music as an artist, personal chapter in your life, and your next journey called Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions. You also have numerous followers on Spotify, YouTube, and all these social medias. We'll be talking about some of your music like Big Dipper, I Saw You, Hard Road, and also leaving New Mexico and everything else. Before getting all that, Rooster, tell us how I first got started.
I first got started.
All the way back.
All the way back. Well, I was singing to myself and making little songs up when I was as far back as I can remember as a little kid. So the cool thing about being raised in Alaska and kind of a little bit away from a lot of influence was that I got to know my own voice before I ever heard anyone else's. So I consider myself a lifelong songwriter. I mean, I'm not going to say those songs were good I was writing when I was that young, but I did have songs floating through and landing on my shoulder from the time I was very young to this day. That's still how they come to me.
Mm-hmm. Even singing to roosters as well too. So
that's right. At least paying homage to them.
There you go. I think that's a lot better. So next time we go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, make sure you pay homage to them roosters as well. So
that's right. Yeah.
Oh, that's the best part yet. And what was that one precise moment for you simply influenced you what you do in the rest of your career?
Well, I remember being a teenager and realizing that there was probably other people that were like me, that had the feelings I had and were experiencing life the way I was, that perhaps could be helped or seen by hearing a song that I wrote. And that was actually a kind of a hard day. In some ways, you realize these songs that are so personal, that are just between you, are obvious. All of a sudden you have this responsibility almost to take them in front of other people. And I still don't consider myself a performer. It's not like I'm a glory seeker. I really just am doing what I'm doing so the songs can be heard, because I'm carrying these songs as far as I can carry them. And that's how I looked at my responsibility as a songwriter, was I needed to carry them in front of more people. So as a, kind of a shyer person, that's been kind of the lifelong experience, is learning how to be in front of an audience and let somebody in very personally to songs that are very personal and come from real places.
That is really interesting. I think it's pretty much a rare breed, having like artists get intimate with people and everything like that, especially with the new technology and everything else. And who are some of your favorite singers, songwriters, and musicians growing up?
My friend introduced me to Lucinda Williams about 15 years ago. I've been following her journey, and I absolutely love her authenticity and her raw way of turning a phrase. I think she's an incredible songwriter. And I also followed a band called The Gourds way back in the day, and they split off. The two songwriters split off and did solo projects. And Kevin Russell, the songwriter from The Gourds, started a project called Shiny Ribs.
Okay.
And he is an incredible songwriter and lyricist, but watching him grow as a performer and just become more and more himself and more free on stage, he really inspires me a lot because he's doing both. He's carrying the songs to the audience, but then he's learned to just embody physically what it means to perform. And that's something that I'm still, trying to find in myself. So.
Mm-hmm. And you're certainly doing a really good job as well, too, with Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions. You also had other work like Brand New Start, Reimagining October, and more with some singles as well, too. We'll get to more of that with Rooster Blackspur. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by SonicWeb Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking a budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support at sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon, paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon, paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has gotten great reviews. And Evil Evan enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Jordan Cassie, Forbes Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today before it goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon to Amazon, Missing 2 by Mia Molson-Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also, the Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, including 30 exquisite paintings in King David's Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd where it started, and complicate your turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, hope, betrayal, repentance, and more. Check it out. The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner. Keywords, Amazon.com. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner. Check it out today. Also, check out The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on 40 podcast platforms. Heard in 100 countries. Take us with you on any mobile device. Follow and subscribe to us on Spreaker, Spotify, Anchor FM, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, LinkedIn, Facebook, and more. For great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Be sure to check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books like Missing, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. And do support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Check it out today. Here's the amazing award-winning singer, songwriter, making a name for herself, Rooster Blackspur, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we talk about your new release, Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions, tell us about your journey going from Alaska to New Mexico to Nashville.
Yeah, well, I think I can't remember if it was 15 or 16 years ago. I had this phrase that was starting to roll around in my head, which was, if not now, when?
Oh.
And it just kept coming through my life. And it started to kind of break everything in my life apart. And I knew that I had to go pursue music outside of Alaska because Alaska is great and it really supports songwriters and singers. But there's only so many venues and only so much you can do there. And so most musicians that decide to take their career to the next level have to leave Alaska. So I got to that point where I just couldn't ignore that phrase. If not now, if you're not going to do it right now, then when are you going to do this? So I decided pretty quickly to cold turkey pack my truck with my 150-pound dog at the time, all my sound equipment and my instruments and just drive the 3,000-mile highway from Alaska to the lower 48. And I had a loose connection to Portland, Oregon. I had met one person there one time that had come through Alaska and played a show. And so I thought, you know what, that's where I'm going to go because I know one person. So I cold turkey just drove to this city and, got a place to rent and made an appointment at a local recording studio to make my first record. And I didn't know the first thing about how to get a gig, how to meet people, how to meet other musicians. But I knew I needed to go do that full time and really commit my life to it. So that was 15 years ago.
Wow. Okay.
And so, it was it's a steep learning curve when you're really green to just the city life and the population of people that's so different than Alaska. And, there's a whole cadence to conversations and the way people speak. Sometimes it's not very honest or forthright. Sometimes there's a little bit of games and a little bit of acting that goes on, and you have to learn
Or
all of
or
that.
or, or like slang or
Yeah,
colloquialisms and uh their own codes, everything like
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Socially, it was a really steep curve for me, but musically too, because when you move to a new town, nobody cares what you did thousands of miles away in some other town. You're the new guy in town, and you start at open mics, and you start at the base, you start at the bottom. So that's what I did. 15 years ago, I started going to open mic nights and just singing in front of as many people as I could sing in front of. And that's kind of always been my focus is just go play shows, go meet people, and let people hear these songs in as many places as I can sing.
Mhm.
So
You mentioned about being up in Alaska. Whereabouts in Alaska were you at before moving to Portland?
I was born and raised in the Matanuska Valley, but I spent almost the last 10 years of my life in Juneau, Alaska. So I was in Southeast Alaska for the last chapter there.
Southeast Alaska. I'm trying to think. It's like, how far would that be from? I'm just trying to think here. So,
The capital city there in
okay,
Alaska.
okay, yeah. I was just trying to think where it was, and I also thought of Alaska. Jewel made a big name out there. She's from Alaska.
Right, right. Yep. Portugal the Man came out of Alaska as well. Uh,
Okay,
yeah, yep. And I think Matt Hopper is his name, is the other successful Alaskan artist that
okay. You do have quite a few that came out of there,
yeah.
and then going from Portland. Now, is that that point that you hit Nashville, or what did you
No, I went on a 7 year side hustle, to New Mexico. It was just not it wasn't in the cards at all. I had no desire to go to the Southwest. It just never crossed my mind. I didn't have anything against it. It just never came up in conversation. And then I was invited to go on an 8-day rafting trip in the Grand Canyon if I would be the music. And all expenses paid 8-day rafting trip through the Grand Canyon. I mean, how do you say no to that? But at
nice?
the time, I was playing piano full time. My first instrument is piano. So I was full time playing piano at all my shows. And so I had 8 months to learn the guitar so that I could go on this Grand Canyon trip and play a guitar inside of the canyon. Um, so two really important things happened at that moment. First of all, I fell in love with the desert. I had a life-changing experience. If you haven't gone on the Grand Canyon rafting trip, I tell people sell your furniture and go on that trip at least once in your life. It really is phenomenal to just float through the heart of, kind of a living fossil. So I fell in love with the desert, and I also fell in love playing the guitar. And I heard my own voice echoing off the canyon walls of the Grand Canyon, and I learned how to use my voice in a different way that I hadn't learned to use it before on stage. There was a freedom inside of the canyon, and so I just, I had this burning desire to spend more time in the Southwest. So someone had handed me a book months before this Grand Canyon trip randomly that was written by somebody who lived in New Mexico.
Okay.
And so an email was sent to this person because they were the only person in the Southwest that I knew on the planet. And I didn't know them, I just knew their name. And sent an email basically saying, I don't know you, you don't know me, but do you think that I could come to your town and I could play a show? And they said, sure, talk to the city arts council and we're going to put you up in a hotel and we'll put a show on for you. So I drove all the way to New Mexico to play this show in this little town. And I don't know why, but something in me said, you need to come back here as soon as possible. And the second time I went through that town and played a show from stage, I kind of jokingly said, maybe if one of you has a cheap house for sale, I'll just move here.
Cheap houses, that'd be something, or a cheap hotel.
Yeah, and this lady basically drove down the street after me and, said, my friend has this house. It's been sitting there for 5 years and he'll take a small down payment and carry the contract. And I went over there and I was like, why not? Why not? I mean, how can you beat it, So I had a 7-year chapter in New Mexico that just ultimately changed my life, changed me as a person, kind of brought me back to who I originally am in a lot of ways, to my essence, and then also just transformed my musical journey. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and New Mexico really recognized my songwriting. That was really an honor to get. I got the Best Gospel Award for Unholy Saints. I got Best Country Album of the Year on my Great Big Mama Sunshine album. And then my really important acknowledgement was the Singer-Songwriter Award for Big Dipper. That award meant so much to my life because if anything, I identify as a songwriter first and foremost.
And I think that was really great honor as well too. You also had a Brand New Start, also reimagining October as well too. And tell us more about those releases.
Yeah, so I released this album, when I first moved to the lower 48. I released my first album. I was all on piano. I had never been in a professional recording studio. And so I was just this real greenhorn artist in a lot of ways, but I had some really great songs. I had written some great songs. They were in that moment of transition in life where I was, taking that leap. Really, for the first time in my life, I was taking a leap that big on my own behalf, to head off towards a dream, even though lots of people are telling me I was going to fail, and people were saying, oh, you'll be back here in 6 months with your tail between your legs. And so there was all this angst and hope and dreams, and it was all mixed into this interesting concoction. So that record, the songs that I wrote on that record were really powerful songs. But I was not yet a powerful performer. I was still learning to use my voice and learning about the studio and how you use that space compared to the stage. So at its 10-year reunion, anniversary, which is just blows my mind. Those go by so fast. When the 10-year anniversary came around, I was like, I want to redo all the vocals on that record and then add some different production now that I know more about production and I've worked out of a studio for a decade. I want to really truly reimagine those tracks, but keep the essence. So the original basic tracks are there, but I added harmonies and my own vocal takes and then some more production on top of it and just made them really beefy, full production of that first record that I made.
And plus, you also had Child of the Wild and my favorite, 7-Eleven Lucky Street.
Ah, yes. Yeah, that is.
Yes, I did my homework too, by the way. Us people do our homework, so.
Nice. Yeah, 7-Eleven Lucky Street is an actual address in the little town in New Mexico that I was living in. And there's this really incredible woman that lives at that house, and she hangs from bars and massages people with her feet. And
oh my goodness!
Yeah,
wow.
And she rides a motorcycle with this kind of female mohawk with this little dog on the back of her motorcycle. But if you drove by her house, you would never know from her address that there's this just incredible lady living in this house, And so 7-Eleven Lucky Street is kind of, the image of instead of don't judge a book by its cover, it's don't judge a neighborhood by, its cover. It's there's incredible people in single wide trailers and, neighborhoods that are on those sides of the tracks. You know what I mean? There's really amazing human beings living inside of those places and have greatness that you can't imagine, So that's kind of a homage to her to my upbringing and also to an interview I heard with Joan Jett.
Oh my goodness. That is one of my favorites, and it's my daughter's favorite, Joan Jett.
Yeah. Well, she was in an interview and someone told her when she was younger, they said, um, girls don't play electric guitar. And her response was, watch me. So, did you see the 7-Eleven music video that we made on YouTube?
I'm going to check that out now that
Okay.
you've mentioned it, and I'm going to get to that part after we talk about Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions, going from New Mexico to Nashville. We'll get to that with Rooster Blackspur. You're listening to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon. Also, Sweet Summits by Serena Wagner, based on the life of King David, available on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Summits, Serena Wagner. For some of you going to check out the 7-Eleven Lucky Street video, we're going to take a timeout and come back with Rooster Blackspur of Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions, after this timeout. We're back to the amazing Rooster Blackspur of Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions here on the Mike Wagner Show. Now going from New Mexico to Nashville with the Nashville Cinderella Sessions, and tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, randomly, this was one of those serendipitous moments in life, which I think when you're a full-time touring musician, these types of things kind of happen all the time. So you know them when you'll recognize them when they come to you, right? But someone randomly, truly, just came up to me and said, I just can't shake this feeling that you need to go to Nashville. And they are friends of the people that own the Cinderella Sound Studios.
Okay.
And so they sponsored and, they became a patron of the arts and sponsored our studio time in the Cinderella Sound Studios.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I had never been to Nashville, not once. And again, it wasn't on my radar. I didn't have an arrow pointing in that direction in any way. But somebody made this happen and they said, you just need to get there and pay for your own hotel rooms. And, basically the rest is taken care of. And even session musicians that were coming in were already paid for. So me and my drummer went out 2-day drive, through Kansas. And we were like, what's going on? What are we doing? We don't even know these people we're playing with. Like, we don't know anything about what we're doing, but we're just going to see how it goes, and I'm going to bring my most Nashville sounding songs that I have to Nashville, So I brought a couple songs. Well, little did we know we were walking into one of Nashville's oldest recording studios, founded in 1961. And Wayne Moss is one of the original Nashville Cats that owns the studio. He's on almost every hit you can dream of. He's played the lead guitar tune. The Cats that he brought in to play with us have played with anyone that you can think of in country music that's made a hit record. They've either played on their albums or been on tour with them, they just have this incredible rich history. And
Nice.
So we walk into this room and it's like a time capsule. The carpet's still from 1961. The microphones are still from 1961. And we did it old Nashville style where you just all go in a room and 3, 2, 1, and you play together and you sing together live in the moment. It was so amazing to play with that level of talent and that level of experience, and just the humility and the grace that all of those men brought to the table too, towards me as an artist was just very powerful. And just the quality of the track has so much energy because it was a moment in time. It wasn't a sandwich of recordings. It was truly a moment captured between people in a room. And so we really made a record the way that they used to make records.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And may I ask, what was the name of that studio you went to?
Cinderella Sound.
It was Cinderella. Okay, I was thinking more Sun and all that stuff. So it's like, I gotta get my headspace right here. So
yeah, well, and that's why I wanted to name the album Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions, because I wanted to pay homage to that recording studio because, truly, it's one of the last ones of its kind. It still has the original soundboard, a Flickinger soundboard. There's not very many of those even left in the world. There was only so many of them made, so the sounds coming out of that studio are really vintage. I mean, they really are what it used to sound like to make a record. So we weren't trying to compete and make a record that sounded like it was 2024. We wanted to make a record that sounded like it was 1961.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it sounds like that.
Mm-hmm. And did a great job of it too. You had Hard Road, I Saw You, and of course, Kicking Up Dust and Lonely Angels. And tell us more about those.
Yeah, and again, those are all songs, I like to think that songs kind of belong together in little batches, is what I like to call them. They don't always come together when you're writing them, but when you lay them all out and you look at them, you think, these five over here belong together, or these six over here kind of live together really well. And this group of songs really felt like they were telling a story, even though they came from different timelines of my life. I feel like there was an arc of a story there. And anybody who's been through those transitionary years of life where you make changes in life and you think life's going to go one way, and then that curve that hits, or that blind side that comes out of nowhere. And for all of us, we went through COVID. We went through 2020, where so many of us had to reinvent ourselves. And so, that whole story is woven into those songs. In the lyrics and in between the lyrics and the emotion, and so I felt like this is an album a lot of people could probably find themselves inside of, this journey of songs.
Mm-hmm. And certainly as well too. You also had what was it? We did Kicking Up Dust and also Leaving New Mexico. I think we may have covered it, and also The Way. And tell us more about those.
Yeah, I wrote The Way right after I had just, I couldn't tour. Most musicians could not tour in 2020 because personal gatherings were limited to 5 people because of the pandemic. So it really just leveled a lot of us full-time touring musicians. So a lot of us had to reinvent, either do lessons online or figure out some other way. Well, I had the harebrained idea to open a cafe. And
Ah,
so
nice.
look, I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but that was kind of my only option. I was living in a town of 6,000 people in the county, and there wasn't really jobs to go get. But there was this empty building that was for rent that had a commercial kitchen in it, and I thought, why not? The town could use a restaurant, and I could use some income, and I'll make it work until I can go back to touring. And I've never worked harder in my life and been treated worse. And I'm a musician, so that's saying a lot. But as soon as I could hand my cafe to somebody else, it was time to get back on the road. But I have to tell you that it was really hard to do. It was really hard to get back to doing music after taking 2 years and having to reinvent to survive. I think a lot of musicians have gone through this in the last couple of years. It kind of changed a lot in those 2 years. And so trying to get back on the horse after that was really hard. So I actually went on a vision quest to really find the answer. Like, what is it that I'm supposed to do? How am I supposed to get back to doing this? My whole musical career was kind of leveled. I had to rebrand and reinvent myself in a huge way. And in my vision quest, the answer that I got was just go. Just go. Don't charge money. Don't book a tour. Just get in your car and go, and see where people will let you sing music, And I had the most transformative, incredible tour in 2022. And that's where I met my drummer, Sam, who came up to me at a show. I was singing solo. And he said, I like what you're doing with your guitar here and everything, but you need a band and you need to go big time. And it was like, and he said, and I need to be your drummer. And it was like, well, let's go. So, the road opened up before me, if that makes sense. And it really showed me the way of where I want to go. And so that's where the way came in, was that I want to follow that path. I want to follow the omens. I want to keep my hands open and let life take me where it's going to take me. I want to keep my heart open to risk and saying yes, even when it's scary. I want to look at my fellow man like they're my brothers and sisters, and that they're not threats or enemies. That's where I want to keep my path, and that's when life folds open for me. When I get into any other space, it contracts and it's hard to do anything. And so the way is kind of perhaps my personal mantra of how I want to keep living my life.
Okay, I think that's a really good mantra as well too. And I thought about the cafe. I'm sure you cook good food over there. So
I did. My mom taught me to cook from scratch, so
Oh,
I was
that's
raised
even
on scratch.
better.
Yeah,
Yes. I'll have to get a hold of the address of the cafe and head down there one day and pay homage to you.
yeah, it's still there. It's called the Giddy Up Cafe, and it's in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Ah, Truth or Consequences, named after the game show. I've been wanting to check that out for quite some time. If they still have the host living there. So
Yeah, it's a really quirky little sweet place.
oh my gosh, I have to do that. Take the Truth or Consequences. And if there's other music out there we haven't covered, feel free to talk about those.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of singles, and I'm a real prolific writer, so songs are always landing on me. I'm always backed up when it comes to songs, and trying to get back into the studio is a full-time thing. I have to give a shout out to my Patreon community because they're really the reason I have my recordings out there online. They're the ones who have supported me through COVID and supported me through reinvention and getting back into touring, and that they're the reason why I have my recordings. All of my recordings were created and made because of patronage. Child of the Wild is one of my favorite songs I have out there. It's kind of my autobiography in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways, but it also just, I want to call to that a lot in people right now. I think calling to our wild nature. And I think, we think wild nature and we think of a tiger or a bear attacking something, but I think our wild human nature is loving. And I think our wild nature is open. And I think that our wild nature is our truest selves. And so I think we need our wild selves right now more than ever.
I think that's very important indeed in these times as well. And where can we find all your music at, including Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions at?
Yeah, everything is on Spotify, and the follows there are important. Now musicians are only getting booked at venues if they have a certain amount of followers on Spotify. So as much as Spotify isn't the best platform financially for us, it is an important platform for, letting the venues know that we actually have followers and listeners. And then I'm basically all streaming platforms that I can think of through DistroKid. And then obviously Patreon. I do a lot of unreleased material on Patreon. So stuff that
Mm-hmm.
I never put out to the public sector, I give it to Patreon. And I also give Patreon the first listen to a brand new song I've ever written. And some of those never get recorded. So Patreon's the only place to hear some of those kind of those secret songs.
Okay. And besides Patreon, what's your website and how do people reach you?
My name, Rooster Blackspur, is kind of it's my .com, and it's, you can find me everywhere under that name, Rooster Blackspur.
RoosterBlackspur.com. We will certainly check that out. We're here at the multi-town Rooster Blackspur of Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just a few moments here. What else can we expect in 2025 and beyond?
A lot. We have another probably 6 or 7 song EP that we're working on. We're just starting the recording process probably in the next month. So we're probably going to be doing a little Kickstarter campaign, and then obviously hoping to have it out by summer so we can take it out on tour. And this year, because we're living in Nashville now, we're hoping to tour to different places that we haven't been, and picking up house concerts in different states here in the South and then also out in the West. I always do once a year. I head out to the West and do a West Coast tour to see all my fans that have been with me for a really long time in California, Oregon, and Washington. And then we'll be in New Mexico and Colorado as well. So hoping to go on the road probably late summer and early fall. And then if I have my way, I would like to put out another Christmas album. It's been a really long time since I've done a holiday record, and I would love to see that for 2025 as well.
That sounds great. We'd love to have you back when it gets close to that time. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Mm. Ooh, that's a really hard question. Honestly, I keep going back to Shiny Ribs. I have to say that, just like I said, he came into my life when I was in my 20s, before I left Alaska, before I pursued my own career as a musician. And he continues to inspire me as a songwriter and a performer and an independent person making music the way he wants to and fully being himself. And I hope I can always say that about myself.
Certainly, indeed, as well. And oh yeah, what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
I say, you know what, run hard after your dreams. I really believe in that. They may not turn out the way you want them to, but you will turn out to be someone completely different when you chase your dreams and listen to your heart.
And I think that's a really good point as well, too. Here with the multi-talented award-winning singer-songwriter Rooster Blackspur of Nashville, the Cinderella Sessions here on the Mike Wagner Show. Rooster, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keeps us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. We wish you all best. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your music?
Thank you, Mike. You're really good at this. You've done this before.
I appreciate it. And what's the website?
Roosterblackspur.com.
We will certainly check that out. Once again, Rooster, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having you again soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. We wish you all the best. And Rooster, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you.